My mom texted me the night before my restaurant opening. We'll skip it. Your brother is hosting a barbecue party. No phone call or apology, just a text message delivered like an afterthought. I smiled, then walked into the dining room, greeted by the cheers and raised glasses of the guests who actually showed up. A week later, while a special interview of my new restaurant aired on Food Network, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. My family had seen it and wanted back into my life. What I did next left them stunned. Before I tell you what came next, tell me, have you ever been quietly erased by your own family, and where are you listening to my story from? Hi, I'm Diane, a 34-year-old chef from Sacramento, California, and this is the story of how my family chose a casual cookout over the moment I'd been building my whole life toward, and how one interview with Food Network changed everything. Growing up, I learned early that some people are born into the spotlight and others have to create their own. My brother Jack was the spotlight. Charming, athletic, the kind of kid who could walk into a room and own it without trying.
Me?
I was the one hovering near the edges, watching, learning to be invisible. I remember family dinners from when I was 10 years old. My mother would bustle through the kitchen, pulling a roasted chicken from the oven, the smell filling the house with warmth. Jack would slide into his seat, grinning, and our parents would lean in, asking about his day, his soccer practice, his plans. When he spoke, they listened like every word mattered. I'd try to share something, too. A story about a recipe I'd tried, a dish I'd experimented with using leftover ingredients. My mother would smile politely, distracted, already thinking about the next thing. My father would glance up from his newspaper, nod once, then turn back to the sports section. It wasn't cruelty. It was just absence. A quiet kind of dismissal that builds over years, layer by layer, until you stop expecting anything different. When I was 12, I won a local junior cooking contest. I'd spent weeks perfecting a lemon tart, adjusting the crust, balancing the tartness with just enough sweetness. The judges loved it. They called my name, handed me a ribbon, and I stood there, beaming, holding that small trophy like it was made of gold. I rushed home, bursting through the door, eager to share the news. My mother was folding laundry. My father was watching television. Jack was sprawled on the couch beside him. I won, I said, breathless, holding up the ribbon. First place. My mother glanced over, smiling faintly. That's nice, honey, she said, then turned back to the laundry. My father didn't even look away from the screen. Jack mumbled something about being hungry. That was it. No celebration. No congratulations. Just a moment that passed like any other. A week later, Jack's soccer team won a match, and the house exploded with energy. My parents took him out for dinner, invited his friends over, made a whole evening of it. I stayed home, finishing my homework, wondering what it would take to earn that kind of attention. Over time, I stopped expecting it. I learned that my efforts, my passion, my quiet dedication would always be secondary to Jack's easy charm and athletic wins. So, I stopped trying to compete. Instead, I found solace in the one place that never dismissed me, the kitchen. My mother's kitchen became my refuge. I had always been fascinated by my mother's cooking and decided I wanted to be a chef when I grew up. I'd stand at the counter, chopping vegetables, experimenting with spices, creating dishes that existed only in my imagination. I taught myself to balance flavors, to trust my instincts, to see food not just as sustenance, but as a language, a way of expressing everything I couldn't say out loud. Those early experiments, messy and imperfect, became my foundation. I carried them through culinary school, through years of working in other people's kitchens, through late nights and early mornings and moments when I wondered if I'd ever have something of my own. But I kept going, because cooking was never about recognition for me. It was about creation, about turning absence into presence, silence into flavor, invisibility into something undeniable. And then, finally, after years of saving, planning, and dreaming, I opened my own restaurant in Carmel by the Sea, a small coastal town with ocean air and salt-kissed breezes. A place where I could build something real, something mine. The opening night arrived. I invited my family weeks in advance, sent them the details, told them how much it would mean to have them there. I didn't expect grand gestures. I just wanted them to show up, to see what I'd built, to taste the years of quiet determination that had brought me to this moment. Instead, I got a text message. "We'll skip your restaurant opening. Your brother is hosting a barbecue party." I stood there in my kitchen, staring at those words, feeling the familiar ache of being second place. I texted back, keeping it simple. "That's fine." I set my phone down on the counter, the screen still glowing with their casual dismissal. Around me, the kitchen hummed with life. Pots simmered, the scent of fresh herbs filled the air, and somewhere beyond the kitchen doors, I could hear voices. Laughter. The clinking of glasses. I took a breath, smoothed my chef's coat, and stepped through those doors into the dining room I'd spent years dreaming about. The applause hit me like a wave. Guests rose from their seats, smiling, cheering, raising their glasses toward me. Friends, food bloggers, strangers who'd read about my opening online. People who believed in what I was building. People who showed up. For a moment, standing there in the soft glow of candlelight, I forgot about the text message entirely. These people appreciated me. The night was a blur of flavors, conversations, and laughter. Every dish that left my kitchen felt like a small victory. Every guest who smiled, who savored, who asked for my story, was proof that my work mattered. Later that evening, as I was cleaning up, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a notification from Instagram. A popular food influencer who'd attended the opening had posted about the restaurant. The post was glowing, highlighting the coastal-inspired dishes, the warm atmosphere, the care evident in every detail. Within minutes, the post went viral. Likes, shares, comments flooded in. People from across the state were tagging friends, making plans to visit. My quiet little opening had become something bigger than I'd imagined. And then, just before midnight, another notification appeared. This one made my breath catch. A food critic, someone whose reviews could make or break a restaurant, had posted a glowing write-up. The headline read, "The most heartfelt dining experience of the year." I read the review 3 times, each word sinking in. They praised my creativity, my presentation, my ability to infuse emotion into every dish. They called the restaurant a destination, not just a local gem. They said my work deserved national attention. I stood there in my empty kitchen, the lights dimmed, the ovens cooling, and let myself feel it. Pride. Vindication. Relief. I'd done it. On my own terms. Without waiting for anyone's permission. The next morning, the restaurant was buzzing. People lined up outside, before we even opened. Reservations poured in for weeks in advance. My staff and I worked nonstop, every table full, every dish met with enthusiastic praise. It was overwhelming, exhilarating, exhausting, and everything I'd worked for. What I didn't know then was that 1 week later, everything would shift again. It was a Tuesday morning. I was explaining a recipe to my assistant chef when my phone pinged again. This time, it was an email. The sender's name made me freeze. Vivian Foster. The Vivian Foster, host of the most-watched lifestyle and food show on Food Network. The woman people called the Oprah of food and lifestyle. And she was emailing me. I opened it with shaking hands. "Dear Diane, I've been following the buzz about your restaurant, and I'd love to feature you and your story on my show. Your approach to food, hospitality, and resilience resonates deeply. Let's share your journey with the nation." I read it again. Then again. Then I set my phone down and let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. This was it. The moment that could change everything. Not just for my restaurant, but for my career. Vivian Foster wanted to tell my story on national television. And my family had skipped my opening for a backyard barbecue. The irony wasn't lost on me. Over the next few days, I prepared meticulously for the interview. I thought through every detail, the dishes I'd present, the stories I'd share, the way I wanted to frame my journey. I practiced speaking about my restaurant without bitterness, focusing instead on the passion, the creativity, the years of quiet determination that had brought me here. I reflected on the contrast. My family chose a casual cookout over my opening, but now the nation's most respected food figure was giving me a platform. They missed the humble beginning, but they'd see the spotlight. The day of the taping arrived. I stood in my restaurant, cameras surrounding me, Vivian Foster sitting across from me with her warm, knowing smile. She asked thoughtful questions, listened intently, and let me speak from the heart. I talked about growing up overlooked, about finding solace in cooking, about the years of teaching myself, refining my skills, dreaming of a place where I could create connection through food. I spoke about my philosophy, that every dish should tell a story, that hospitality is about making people feel seen, that food is a language of care. Vivian highlighted my creativity and ability to turn personal challenges into something beautiful. She framed my restaurant as more than a local gem. She called it a national destination, a place worth traveling for. When the interview aired, the response was immediate. Social media exploded. Reservations flooded in from across the country. Food bloggers, critics, and curious diners all wanted to experience the restaurant Vivian Foster had championed. My quiet coastal spot became a must-visit destination. And my phone started ringing nonstop. The next day, I saw the missed calls. 12 from my mother, 8 from my father, 6 from Jack. All left in the hours after the broadcast aired. I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I stood in my kitchen, watching the organized chaos of my staff preparing for another packed evening, and let myself feel the weight of the moment. They'd seen it. They'd watched me on national television, standing in the restaurant they dismissed, telling the story of resilience and passion that had brought me here. They'd seen the soft candlelight, the bustling dining room, the respect and recognition I'd earned without their support. The contrast must have hit them hard. While they were flipping burgers in a backyard, I was being celebrated on Food Network. While they were laughing over potato salad, the nation was learning my name. I listened to the voicemails eventually. My mother's voice, trembling with shock. "Diane, we had no idea. We're so proud. Please call us back." My father, uncharacteristically emotional. "Sweetheart, we saw the show. Your restaurant is incredible. We should have been there." Jack, stumbling over his words. "Sis, I'm sorry. I didn't realize how big this was. Congrats." Their messages were filled with surprise, regret, and a sudden eagerness to reconnect. But I didn't rush to respond. I let the calls sit unanswered for a few days, savoring the quiet power of my success. For years, I'd waited for their attention. Now I had it, but I didn't need it anymore. My triumph spoke for itself. My restaurant, my interview, my work, all undeniable, all public. Eventually, I decided it was time to host them. Not because I needed their validation, but because I wanted them to see firsthand what they'd missed. I texted my mother, "Come to the restaurant this Saturday, 7 p.m. I'll have a table ready." Saturday arrived. I watched from the kitchen as my family stepped through the door. My mother, father, and Jack, all dressed a little nicer than usual, eyes wide as they took in the scene. The dining room glowed with soft candlelight. Every table was full, guests laughing, chatting, their faces bright with anticipation. The air hummed with warmth, the kind of atmosphere that can't be faked. It's built slowly, through care and dedication and countless small choices that add up to something real. My family stood in the entrance for a long moment, taking it all in. I could see the realization dawning on their faces. This wasn't just a restaurant. It was a testament to years of overlooked effort, to quiet determination, to everything they'd failed to notice. I stepped out of the kitchen, greeted them with a calm smile, and led them to their table. No special treatment, just the same care and attention I gave every guest. Throughout the meal, I watched them from across the room. I saw my mother's eyes widen as she tasted the first bite of seared scallops with citrus beurre blanc. I saw my father lean back in his chair, savoring the braised short ribs, nodding slowly as if finally understanding something he'd missed for years. I saw Jack glance around at the other diners, at the smiles, the laughter, the effortless warmth that filled the space. When the meal ended, they lingered, reluctant to leave. I joined them outside, where the cool night air carried the faint scent of salt and herbs from the nearby ocean. My mother spoke first, her voice trembling. "Diane, I'm so sorry. We should never have ignored you. This is beautiful. You're incredible." My father nodded, his usual confidence replaced by something softer, more uncertain. "We took you for granted, sweetheart. We didn't see what you were building." Jack shifted on his feet, looking uncomfortable. "I'm sorry, sis. I didn't realize how much this meant. You really did something amazing here." I listened quietly, letting their words settle in the space between us. Part of me had imagined this moment for years, the confrontation, the apology, the acknowledgement. But now that it was here, I felt calmer than I'd expected. Centered. "I forgive you," I said finally, my voice steady. "But I need you to respect my boundaries from now on. I've built my life and my work with care. If you want to be part of it, it's on these terms." They nodded, the weight of my words sinking in. My mother's eyes glistened, but she didn't argue. My father cleared his throat, nodding slowly. Jack just looked at me, a mix of surprise and respect in his expression. For me, this wasn't about anger or revenge. It was about acknowledgement, about respect, about the boundaries I'd earned through years of quiet perseverance. We stood there for a moment longer, the night air cool against our skin, the sound of the ocean faint in the distance. Then they left, glancing back at the glowing restaurant as they walked away. As I watched my family walk away, I felt an unexpected lightness. It wasn't about revenge or proving a point anymore. It was about owning my story, fully and unapologetically. I thought of every late night spent testing recipes, every nervous day wondering if my dream would survive, and the countless small victories no one had witnessed. They didn't matter then, but they mattered now to me. Looking around the restaurant, I saw faces glowing with appreciation, strangers sharing moments of connection over my dishes. Each smile was a reminder that impact doesn't need permission. Recognition doesn't need validation. Success isn't measured by who notices it first, but by the lives you touch along the way. For a moment, I closed my eyes and breathed in the warmth of the room. This was the life I had built, tangible, undeniable, and mine alone. The past's quiet dismissals no longer carried weight. I realized boundaries weren't walls. They were statements of self-respect. I could welcome others in, but on my terms. Tonight, I had tasted triumph. Not just in the applause, not just in the glow of the candlelit tables, but in the knowledge that I had stayed true to my vision. That, I knew, was the flavor no one could ever take from me. If you've ever felt overlooked, dismissed, or taken for granted, I want you to know something. Your work matters. Your passion matters. The quiet effort you pour into your dreams, the hours no one sees, the dedication that goes unnoticed, it all adds up. You don't need anyone's permission to be extraordinary. You don't need their validation to succeed. Build your own stage. Create your own spotlight. And when the world finally sees what you've been building all along, let that moment be yours. Unapologetically yours. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more journeys of resilience and quiet triumph. Share your own experiences in the comments. How did you find your voice when others couldn't hear it? Your story matters, and I'd love to hear it.